So it's not every day I get a game this good, and I just had to show it to you guys. I'm going to talk about some of the decision making that led up to such an incredible game, but a lot of it does come down to just getting lucky overall. You can make all the right decisions, but at the end of the day, it's a random battle, right? There's random teammates, random enemies, random maps, and you can't control everything in the game. But this game, I happened to make a lot of good decisions, and a lot of things did end up going right for me. So to start off with, we're in the Annapolis, the super cruiser, right? This is a Des Moines on steroids. You get the extra gun, the extra turret, I should say, and then of course you have this burst fire, which is pretty incredible. I also am running Halsey on this ship, and that's going to be important a little bit later. But as we push in, we're trying to help our teammates on the B cap. This is a pretty open water kind of cap, and it usually gets stalled out, but if we can get our radar into a good position, perhaps we can help our teammates take this cap and maybe get ourselves an early lead. As I'm going behind this island, of course, I am going to try and use this booster, and we get a few hits in. Of course, the Fletcher at range is a little bit hard to hit when he stays angled. One of the more difficult things to deal with on the Annapolis is when to use this reload booster, this burst fire, or not. Typically, if you're dipping behind an island and you can get a burst off before you go behind the island like I did earlier, that's always going to be a good option to use the burst fire. But here, I'm not so sure. I was hoping that I would have enough pen to actually be able to Citadel the Goliath, although he does end up angling, so I don't think we would have Citadelled him even if he was broadside though. I'm not sure about that, but no Citadels, so a little bit of a waste there. A lot of DPM lost, but perhaps the Goliath would have gone dark anyway, so it would have been all right. But that's going to be the big challenge. A lot of times I just don't use the gimmick, this boosted burst fire, and sometimes that comes back to hurt me, and other times it's better to just retain our monstrous DPM. This Ragnar gets caught super duper deep into our radar, so we're going to try and take him out. Notice how I'm focusing the more dangerous of the two destroyers. If I have a choice, I'm always going to focus on a Ragnar instead of a Fletcher. Unless there is a situation where I can just outright kill the Fletcher quickly and then move on, but this didn't really seem to be the case. I want to take out, or at least injure, the most dangerous destroyer. Looking back on things, I should have used my booster here. I should have just sent a burst salvo into the Ragnar, trying to finish him off. The reason I didn't though is because I wanted to try and shoot at the Fletcher a little bit as my radar was running out. Of course he just smokes up and goes dark anyway, so we miss out on a little bit of damage there. But that was kind of my idea behind it. I wanted to keep the DPM up on the destroyers, and a DD that's just shooting at you in open water isn't likely to go dark unless of course they smoke. But I should have just used my burst fire on the Ragnar. I might have been able to kill him. Although our dispersion hasn't been all that amazing, and that's kind of the issue with the Des Moines, and the Annapolis of course has that issue as well. Your dispersion isn't all that amazing for a cruiser. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, and when the shells hit, I mean, 4,500 damage into the bow of a Jean Bart feels pretty good, but the dispersion can be a little bit wonky, so dealing with enemy destroyers that are at longer ranges can be a little bit difficult, especially if they're well angled. Notice how the damage has dropped off dramatically here into the bow of the Jean Bart. That means he's saturated, so it's really a good idea if you have the pen on a lot of battleships, shoot the bow until it's saturated, and then go up into the superstructure and some of the upper belt type of stuff once that bow or stern has been saturated. That's how you're going to maximize a lot of your damage. Notice how I'm also not getting greedy to use my back guns, because the Jean Bart and the Alaska don't overmatch me, right? If I was in a situation where there was a battleship or a cruiser with more DPM, let's say, I would probably be trying to play a little safer. But since there's no overmatch here and not a lot of DPM, I'm okay with just poking my bow out and taking this engagement. The Schlieffen pushes in, and because of that, I'm actually willing to reverse and try and get all of my guns on target. They have a very difficult choice right now. Do they deal with the Schlieffen that's just charging into them and going to kill them? Or do they shoot at the Annapolis that's trying to get more DPM off at them? So I'm trying to take advantage, basically, of this Schlieffen sacrifice, right? I'm trying to kill these guys as quickly as possible, since the north side of the map isn't going all that amazing yet. And we do get a few salvos off with our back guns, and we manage to take out the Jean Bart. But as you can see, the shots come in pretty quick as soon as I'm getting greedy for those rear turrets. Unfortunately, in this situation, I do have to angle, so we become just a Des Moines. But there are worse things to be than just a bow on Des Moines in a close range engagement. So we're just going to stay bow in and try and farm out this Alaska. Notice my teammates have cleaned up in the south on A, and they're getting a few salvos in on the Alaska as well. So I really don't mind sitting out here and spotting and hopefully trying to take this guy out. I will be playing much more passive and trying to play around islands and stay in cover and not get detected a little bit more once there's ships that have overmatch ability, that kind of thing against me. But against an Alaska, I want to make sure that he goes down, right? Now, as this Monty's coming around, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not going to try and get spotted here. Montanas are scary, and a guy on this amount of HP, well, he could do some serious damage, although I think he's overcommitted to the south. That's a real big part of why this game is still reasonably close. You'll notice that they're way ahead on points. They got that way from basically owning all the caps for such a long period of time. Fortunately though, my team didn't just all collapse and die. The enemy team took a lot of ground and took a lot of caps, but my team didn't die. So when the enemy team has pushed in so aggressively, they lost about as many ships as we did. So as we're getting our Halsey Confederate online, there's a good chance that we can carry this game out. And unfortunately for this poor Monty, he shoots just before I get plane spotted, so he doesn't have good lock on. And because we have Halsey Confederate, yeah, he's gonna die before he gets another salvo, because the DPM is just nasty with this combination. It's actually insane. He does, you know, sit broadside to us, so of course we're gonna use the armor piercing, and that's part of why we had so much damage onto that guy. Now we notice the Goliath is pushing us, right? But first we're gonna try and deal with this Ragnar. He's low enough that we might be able to kill him outright, and we have a bit of time here before the Goliath pushes around for us. Notice that they really only have a Slava left, and he was in the north. I'm trying to angle my best to him so that he can't really just one-shot me. He can overmatch my bow, fair enough, but it's unlikely he kills me that way. As soon as the Ragnar is taken out, we're gonna deal with this Goliath, turn our guns, get ourselves ready. Something that I realize almost too late is that there's still a Fletcher alive around the B cap. And I pop my hydro finally. You'll notice that anytime, hopefully if I'm paying attention, anytime I'm pushing around this corner here, I'm trying to use my hydro so I don't eat those torpedoes. The Goliath does get a good salvo into us, but that's our Kraken, and this game's not over yet. And this is the second time where I potentially misuse this burst fire. Obviously, I missed the last salvos of that burst, and the thought process here was, it's a broadside Fletcher, let me just burst him down really quick so that he can no longer be spotting me, and I'm not going to be spotted sitting in front of a Slava, that kind of thing. And I'm probably going to try and reverse around this island and go dark anyway, which we are able to do. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to kill that Fletcher. He did a good job of slowing down and turning out just enough to dodge our shells, but it's okay. We recovered. We didn't actually overcommit. That's one of the big issues with cruisers some of the time in these late game clutches. It's very easy to overcommit into bad situations. But now that the enemy team is basically down to 3 ships, we push into the B cap and hopefully we're going to be able to win this game. It's still close. The enemy team is almost on 850 points, and if they're able to hold that cap for an extended period of time, they might actually end up winning this game. It's really important to keep that in mind, but also understand that it takes a lot of time for them to tick up on points as well. So we do have some time to make smart, good plays and not take as many risks to hopefully guarantee a victory here. And we're going to try and deal with this Fletcher finally. I do think our Holland probably would have won that fight, but considering the enemy team is so close to winning, a few kills here or there could easily tip them over the edge. So I wanted to help out. A bit of a kill steal there, although I did get quite a bit of damage on that Fletcher earlier on. Popping my hydro right away, we notice the last known location of this Smolin, and then our radar as well once I get spotted. The Smolin's on low HP, so we're just going to yoink that one as well for our 7th kill. 200k, 7 kills, and quite the comeback. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite able to catch up to the Condi to get my 8th kill, but 7 is enough. I think 7 and 200k like that is more than enough for this game. The Annapolis is absolutely crazy, and I really, really love playing this thing in random battles. It sure spends a lot of credits to actually play this thing, but boy, is it a ton of fun. And if people push into you one by one, it's very capable of carrying. And yeah, 3.3k base XP, pretty good result. As for the build on the Annapolis, it really is just my standard American cruiser captain. I'm taking concealment, I'm taking survivability expert, I'm taking superintendent. I'm trying to live, I'm trying to make the most out of these radars. I'm trying to push in and play aggressive and use these radars, so we're taking top grade gunner to give us a little bit better reload. It's pretty valuable on these American cruisers. Since we're playing around caps, it's very likely someone will be spotted on the enemy team within our detection. So it's almost free reload, especially when you're radaring someone. It is free reload. Priority target is really nice to know how many people are shooting at you. Adrenaline rush is just an excellent skill. And since we are an American special commander, grease the gears and gun feeder are both improved and are very, very valuable. Sometimes the Des Moines and the Annapolis can kind of feel like they have slow turret traverse, but this definitely helps out. And of course, gun feeder is just so amazing to always have the right shell type, no matter what situation you're in. It's just so, so good. As far as the upgrades, I am running range mod because, I mean, it's a passive meta at top tier. I think we all know this at this point. Reload mod can work, and in the right situation, it's way better. And it's way more fun, but there's going to be a lot more situations where you're just going to not have any range to impact the game at all. So that's why I tend to take range mod. Definitely want concealment. I prefer propulsion for playing around islands, that kind of thing. And of course, aiming systems. Even with aiming systems, the dispersion wasn't all that good. So a bit of an issue with the American cruisers, but the DPM just kind of overrules that. It's just so good. We're taking hydro because AA isn't all that useful. Surveillance radar, of course, is extremely good on these American ships. I really, really love getting into islands and just absolutely controlling a side of the map with the radar, like we did in this game, and it worked out pretty well. So let me know what you think in the comments down below about the Annapolis. Personally, I definitely prefer the Annapolis in random battles, but I know Condi is pretty nasty, especially in clan battles. I might have to get that thing since I have a ton of credits now and maybe play some games and see how it is. I could be wrong. But look forward to that coming up. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.